You are listening to the Yummy Mummy podcast, the best of series. What?
Welcome to the Yummy Mummy podcast, where you will learn brand new and shockingly different tools to lose weight for the last time. And now, here's your host, certified life and weight loss coach, Laura Conley.
Welcome to the show. You guys, are you excited? I am. So, we are releasing the best of series every Thursday from now until who knows when. So, without further ado, I want to give you one of the best episodes that we have ever recorded. We even looked up the stats. We have a whole spreadsheet. You guys loved this episode so much that it was at the tippity toppity of the list. Now, if you're like, I don't want to listen to this, I'm sure I've already listened to this. I hear you. And we hear things differently as we journey on, as we grow, as we evolve. So, my guess is that you'll hear this podcast in a completely different way. And you might not have even heard this podcast if you're not going in chronological order. I know, you guys, this is not the most original idea. I'm kind of borrowing some from some of my colleagues and coaches. And when they do the best of series, I feel like I have never heard the episode, even though I know I had. So, trust me, you're going to love re-listening or listening in the first place to some of the absolute best episodes that we have. So enjoy it. Let me know what you think. I can't wait to drop episodes to you every single week on Thursdays. Don't worry. The new content, the new Freshy Fresh will still be coming to you on Tuesdays. By the way, doors are open to the Yummy Mummy experience. So I want you to get in now, babes. Go to lauraconley.com, click work with me. You can also go to the show notes. The link is there. So if you're ready to lose weight for the last time, become free from food forever, pass down the legacy that you want to your children, and just live your best life. Seriously, you guys, this is it. It is time. It is 6 months of group coaching, which, by the way, is super powerful. You don't feel alone. You end up becoming really great friends with the other women inside the group. So it's group coaching, it's coursework, I should call it course fun, and a private community. And it's guaranteed. You either lose weight for the last time or your money back. And guess what, you guys? Now we have payment plans available. So you can get started for just $497 a month. So hurry up, get in. We're going to start January 17th, and we're really going to do this. Can you imagine? It's June 2024, and you're actually excited about going swimming with your kids. This is possible for you. I promise you, you're not a special unicorn. You can do this too. It's like all of my clients say, take the leap. You're just going to have to do it. You're going to have to feel the fear and do it anyways. And that's why I give you a money back guarantee. Borrow my belief in you and in this program and my ability to coach you to the finish line. Get in there, babes. And of course, if you have any questions, just email me, Laura at Laura Conley. We can even hop on a call. So I will see you inside. Enjoy this episode and have the best day ever. I am extra excited. I know I say that like every single time, but I'm extra excited because today we have one of my former clients, Elizabeth Doan, on the podcast to drop all kinds of wisdom and heart and soul. She is a yoga teacher based in LA, and she has, I also feel like I say this a lot, but it's really true. She's one of my all-time favorite clients and has just had killer results. So Elizabeth, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Tell us, just give us a little introduction about who you are and your story as it relates to losing weight for the last time.
Okay. Well, as Laura said, my name is Elizabeth Doan. Many people know me as Hoops, which is my nickname. My maiden name's Hooper. That's why, not because I play basketball. I live north of Los Angeles. I'm 55 years old. And
Amazing.
55. And I'm the mom of 3 amazingly handsome boys. 2 boys are in high school. My oldest son is going to be heading off to college, yippee, back to college in the fall. So he'll be a junior. Like Laura mentioned, I'm a yoga teacher, used to be in the film industry, but then my passion turned into my profession. And I'm a yoga teacher, and I'm going to be bold here, kind of have a great life
Yeah.
in lots of different areas of my life, professionally as well as personally, except that one area that has always been my struggle. And I'm 55, so it's been my struggle for, oh my gosh, dare I say 40 years? Ugh.
Elizabeth, what struggle are you referring to?
Oh, that yo-yo dieting, that weight loss, just not being able to figure it out, purely just being baffled by it. I'm sure many of your listeners have tried probably almost everything out there. I mean, I didn't have anything surgically ever done to me, but
Mm.
kind of, I think I've tried everything, some
Yeah.
safer than others, but everything. And
What
never,
was this is like one of my favorite questions. Like, what was the craziest thing that you think that you tried, or
oh,
one of the craziest?
well, I think the most dangerous one, and I can't believe I'm actually putting this out into the world. And I think it's called the Fen. They
Oh,
were pills. I
oh,
don't
wow.
actually know what it stands for. So that was an interesting one
What did
where
you have to do on that one?
get a prescription, first of all. So shame on the world for giving me a prescription. And they were pills you took. And honestly, I think it was like, I'm going to say the 90s, maybe.
Okay.
Everyone I knew was on them.
Mm,
And so you were not hungry.
crazy.
Zero hunger, but you were out of your mind, speedy. Like it was sincerely the most unhealthy thing because it wasn't good. And then obviously
Yeah.
studies came out later and they took it off the market. But the rest are just everybody knows them.
Yeah. Oh, the fen. Okay. Yeah, that sounds like Xenadrin. When I
Wow.
in college, I did Xenadrin, which I like had to save up all my money, like all my what was probably like my beer money. Or Xenadrin instead. Anyways, I love hearing now it's so fun. And you'll start to see this probably too. Now it's so fun when new clients come to me and they're like, oh, I'm trying blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I've never heard of that. It's like, because 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I had tried everything and I had heard of like every quick fix that's out there. Oh my God. Okay. So this has been like the one thing that you had struggled with. Everything else was amazing, right? Personal life, professional life. And then this
Right.
one thing was just plaguing you.
Right. Because, in life, I'm a problem solver.
Mhm.
That's what I like to call myself. So
Yeah.
if my child is having a problem, you do your homework, you reach out, you get help. And just with a completely knowledgeable, open heart, you're like, I'm going to solve that. This was not working. This little piece of the pie, or
Yeah.
rather say big piece of the pie that was getting bigger as time went on, just
No
was
pun intended.
right in my head, unsolvable.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
had given up. And, obviously it was creeping into every aspect of my other life.
Yeah, like how so? Like say more about that. How was your weight or your struggle creeping into other areas of your life?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is as a yoga teacher, I stand in front of a group of people that I really respect and genuinely love. And what comes out of my mouth matters to me.
Yeah.
So if I say something to a student, like something as silly as, buy a $700 yoga mat, I'm selling something that I really believe in, not
Yeah.
because I'm not doing it myself. So I found it harder over time to stand in front of
Mm.
people that I loved and my community and say, you really need to listen to yourself and listen to your
Oh.
body and show up for yourself and do all of the things that, if I were being honest, I don't think I was getting further away from, and I wasn't showing up for myself. And so I found it harder over time, and it was creeping into my professional life to be authentic and really honest with myself. And so that was bothering me more and more. And, and then it just creeps into every part of your life. Again, I want to say to my kids, take care of yourself,
Yes, totally.
and mean it.
Yeah, and be living it, be modeling it, being the
And
example.
I really wasn't. And again, as you get older and I was moving further away from it, it becomes a little bit harder. And I just was bothered by that. Like that's how I live my life.
Well, because it was like it was like challenging your value system, it sounds like.
100%, 100%. And I just didn't like the way I was presenting myself to the world.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
my community, not the world, because it's more my community. It just didn't feel natural and it didn't make sense to me. And I was bothered by it.
Why do you think you couldn't figure it out? And I'm not saying this. I mean, I couldn't figure it out either, right? And everyone listening probably is just on this quest to figure it out. And we feel like we can't figure it out. Why do you think you couldn't figure it out? Like, what do you think the missing piece was?
Well, I think that I had been in a cycle for quite some time. And again, I said earlier, maybe 40 years, just 40
Yeah.
years, a lot of time of success, failure, just trying so many different things. And it must have been about me not being committed or diligent or any of that nonsense I was feeding myself, when in fact, and this is my opinion, I really feel like what's out there right now is selling you something that offers you many lessons. Definitely, I learned a lot of lessons in all of the various diets and programs that are out there, but they're not sustainable.
They're
So
not. They're not sustainable. It's like a Band-Aid. And I start to
it is a
wonder,
band.
yeah, and it doesn't really get to the root. And I start to wonder, like, I was just talking about this actually with a colleague, and I really start to wonder, is the health and wellness industry set up on this in this way on purpose, right? Because if we're not yo-yoing, they're going to stop making money. We actually solved this for the last
Or women support women and we lift each other up and start talking the truth instead of band-aid after band-aid after band-aid. That is not sustainable. And I have started talking to people around me about the Yummy Mummy group, and first admitting that I was getting too heavy is my big thing. And then I have people's attention being like, no, this is really something that's sustainable. So I don't think the other things are sustainable. Again, I learned a lot from those programs, but up, down, up, down. And I just never figured it out. And I think you just get more frustrated over time, and it's depressing and it's so frustrating. So I feel your pain. I was there.
So, what have those conversations been like? You're mentioning, you're kind of telling some people in your community about the Yummy Mummy, about your experience. I'm noticing with some of my current clients that they're afraid to tell their community, right? Because they're afraid, or their families or their best friends, because they're worried that their friends are going to be like, number one, oh, another thing, another diet, or they're worried they're going to get into some like weird argument. Like their friends are going to be like, you don't need to lose weight. You look great, when really they don't feel great deep down, right? Or they're worried their friends are going to like push food on them or whatever. So I'm just curious about like what your experience was telling other people that you were doing this, what you say to other people about what the Yummy Mummy experience is like.
First of all, I've lost 30 pounds. So I started at 159.
Oh, wow.
And my lowest weight was 129. This morning I weighed in at 132 post vacay. I have to tell you, people come up to me and I can see them like, oh my gosh, you look so good. And this is post pandemic. And listen, nobody's feeling fantastic, really.
Yeah.
It's hard. So the fact that I've lost as much weight as I have, people notice it and they're excited and they want to know how. And so I feel like I know if someone's interested, and if they want to know, I send them to you. I'm like, listen, this is what you're not going to do. You're not going to weigh food. You're not going to count calories. You think you know what you're going into, and you're not. It is an entire life. I like to call it a cleanse. It's going to shake you up from the very core.
Yeah, I love that.
And I did not think this. This was not, I know what they're thinking because that's where I was like, oh, here we go. I'm so desperate. I'll do anything, which is what I did. And I think they trust me. And if, the conversations are really short and sweet, and some have been really long and really deep and different. So I tell them a little bit about what it's not going to be and what my experience has been like. And the work is, you're watching your thoughts, you're getting to the core of why you are overeating or choosing the food that you're eating, or it's really deep. So it's challenging. It's difficult, which it's challenging. Some days are more difficult than others, but that's what the journey is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think a lot of people are very interested in it at first because they're like, what? How did you lose that weight?
So how did you lose this weight, Elizabeth? Tell us, like,
how did I lose it?
How, and you alluded to a lot of it just there, but how did you lose 30 pounds, which is just so awesome and amazing, but like how, right?
Well, for the sake of this call, I went through, let's say 2 cycles or 2 semesters of the Yummy Mummy program. So People should know I did not lose that in a short amount of time. That is over an extended period of time.
Well, right. Like the Yummy Mummy experience is 3 months, and I never sell the Yummy Mummy experience as something that will help you lose 30 pounds in 3 months. Cause that just goes back to fen.
Right.
Right. It just goes, that's just diet mentality. That's just more yo-yoing. And I think that's one concept that people really have to wrap their heads around. I love, there's all these memes out there about normalize this, normalize that. It's like, can we normalize losing weight at the amount of time that it's supposed to take to lose weight? Because we all want to lose 30 pounds in 3 months or, some asinine number, and it just doesn't work.
Right. And you really normalize that. You really change. There were so many things that you changed for me right from the start, just the way I speak to myself. So on my days where I am feeling great and really following my food plan, my protocol, where I've stuck to my intermittent fasting, when I've followed my goals for myself, you taught me to listen to the way I speak to myself on those days. And on the days where I'm not doing so well, I want to speak to myself the same way. And that was such a new concept for me, because for me, it was always, lights on, lights off, success or failure, black and white. And you are just going to beat yourself up and you're going to fail because you're not really looking at the why or what brought you there. And you're not looking at yourself with any sort of love or patience, which to me is kind of embarrassing that I wasn't, because as a yoga teacher, you would think that I understand those skills. And I think that I do, but I never applied them to myself.
Yeah. And I think everyone can relate, like even as parents too, right? Like we're teaching our kids. I think about like a mom talking to her teenage daughter who's just weighed themselves, comes down to the kitchen and starts talking shit about herself in front of her mom. What would her mom say? Her mom would, oh my God, what would her mom say in that moment? Right? I've been thinking about this. Like, what would she actually say? And how can we apply those words to ourselves when we weigh ourselves, or when we don't like knee jerk, we don't like what we see, right? So that we can move forward. So you're answering this question so beautifully. You're like, well, my how was I talked a lot more lovingly to myself. I was willing to be patient.
Yeah. And you really realize that it's a long journey and it's not about perfection, which was a huge problem for me. Like if I'm not perfect, then I'm going to throw the whole day out and then I'm done. And it really, really isn't. And that's where it's sustainable. That's where you lose weight for the last time, because it's not that high and low and yo-yoing and verbally abusing yourself where you just kind of want to run away from yourself. You're really in it. You're really
like the all or nothing thinking.
Right. You're really okay with having a bad day. You're okay with doing the hard work, because you're speaking to yourself in such a way that you have respect for yourself instead of like you're your worst enemy. And that's just not going to last. And you layer that into the program, and it gives us the confidence and the patience to learn from ourselves. And then obviously I was in these groups with other women that were all different ages. Some were losing 15 pounds, some were losing 115 pounds, but you just got to really feel and hear their journeys. And that to me was so helpful, because I think I'd be like, whoop, I'm moving through this. I got this. And then somebody would talk about something and I'd say, oh my gosh, that's what I'm doing. And I'm not even noticing that I'm doing that. I'm not going to say it was easy, because it wasn't, because losing weight is not easy. And if it were, I wouldn't
all be thin.
There would be no Yummy Mummy. But it's not that it was easy, but it was so different for me. And there was an element of fun. There was an element of, I looked forward to it. I can't wait to continue to do the work. Where I used to run away from it because it was something I didn't want to deal with. Now it's like, let's go. I want to journal. I want to notice what my thoughts are. I want to know what's setting me down a path that I don't want to be on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been invaluable.
So cool to hear from your perspective. I think doing it in a group is so profound, because we can hear what's going on inside our own subconscious sometimes and like get a transformation that we didn't even know we needed, which is exactly what you're speaking to.
Absolutely. And I think that women tend to prioritize in such an odd way. Like everybody comes before us until we're desperate and the tank is completely dry and run out. Then it's like, okay, now I'm on a ledge. ledge, hanging off a ledge. And what am I going to do to stop this cycle so I can just find a better version of myself? And I think women don't spend money on themselves enough. And so this to me was like, sign me up.
Yeah.
I'm going for it.
I love it. So good.
Yeah.
So awesome. Oh, you should be so proud of yourself. I'm so excited.
I am. I'm really, really proud of myself. I'm proud that I invested in myself. I remember when we were first talking and you were like, okay, so this is the Yummy Mummy group. And, here's where you sign up. And I remember sort of looking, being like, oh, wow, I'm going to spend, because you're going to spend money.
Yeah.
News to the world, you're going to spend money on yourself. And I remember like, ooh, hold on a minute, and going through this whole like cycle of, yeah, but my kids are older. We've got a kid going to college. This was pre-pandemic, right before I started my first session with you. So wasn't full pandemic, but I don't know. And oh boy, that is a trap for women. So
I love that you're bringing this up. I think in a future life, or maybe in 20 years, I'll start coaching on money, because I do think that there's so much wrapped up in money for us women and spending it on ourselves.
Well, it's complete nonsense. And I am the captain of that team. This is what I would say, if any of your viewers or the podcast listeners, not viewers, but listeners, are at that point now and they're listening to this, I really invite them to do a little spreadsheet.
I love it.
Do a little spreadsheet, because how much money do you spend on your children's sports? I have 3 children on travel sports teams, and I love doing it for them. I love it. I love it. It's wonderful. It's movement. It's fantastic, but it's stinking expensive.
Yeah.
How much do you spend on your kids' education?
Yeah.
Private schools, blah, blah, blah. Clothes, all of that.
Yep.
Without a doubt, you would do that in a second. So why, when it's on you, is it like, ooh,
yeah,
I don't know. So I would invite them to do a little spreadsheet. And
well, it comes down to worth. Like,
totally.
And so I find that people get results, and it sounds like you did too. People get results before even our first call. Some of them like actually lose weight, but then some of them actually have up to their concept of themselves, right? Like, oh, now I spend money on myself. And that might not be super comfortable. It actually might be a little uncomfortable, right? But it's heading in the right direction. Up leveling your concept of yourself, or becoming somebody who spends money on themselves because you're worth it, becoming someone who is worthy just because you already are whole, becoming that person and deciding your worth isn't conditional is not the most comfortable thing. But when people sign up for the Yummy Mummy, they get a transformation just right at that moment by being willing to invest in themselves financially. Obviously, it's a time investment too. And
because you're worth it. Because you would do it without a hesitation for a child. And that's fantastic. And I love doing it. But have that same without a hesitation for yourself. It betters them. It betters you.
Yeah.
It's crazy to watch that cycle of thinking. So I was really happy I invested in myself. And like you just said, I immediately was like, this is where I want to be. I thought I would I was like, well, of course I'm going to lose weight. But I didn't think that I would get as much out of it, or I didn't know, actually. I didn't. So,
well, you had like a lot of unexpected benefits, it sounds like.
Yes. The fact that I have such respect for you, because I was like, lose weight for the last time. I'm like, wow, she must have like some serious brazen balls to put that out into the world of women who diet for a living. Like, for the last time is a pretty big statement. I was like, well, this is just worth it just to show up to see how this is going to unroll itself. I mean, I'm like, wow, like I would no sooner say that to a bunch of women. And it's true. And it's true. So it was like,
that is so funny, because I don't even feel like, it doesn't feel scary for me to even say that.
Like, I was scared for you. I'm like, oh my gosh.
It's so good to hear this being reflected back to me because
Yeah.
I never even thought twice about it. I was like, this is what it is. This is what you do. And then you lose weight for the last time. It's just like kind of factual. And you're like, holy shit, that's the bravest, most bold statement that anyone could ever make.
Oh, absolutely. I thought this is fascinating that she would say that. And your audience is obviously mummies. So I thought, well, sign me up.
Oh, that's so cool. So, what were some of the unexpected benefits?
Well, my relationship, obviously, with myself just
Mm.
completely changed, which that's not really unexpected because that kind of happens when you spend so much quality time with yourself and with your thoughts, and you get to know yourself and you upgrade yourself a bit.
Yeah, but somebody might not think that, right? Like a better relationship with myself. They might think, oh, I'm just going to like literally lose 20 pounds or 30 pounds or 50 pounds. But you created a better relationship with yourself.
Well, yes, because you can't lose weight for the last time if you
You
don't.
can't hate yourself thin. That's exactly right, Elizabeth. That's so good.
You just can't. So
What does that mean? Relationship with yourself. Like what is that?
well, you just, in the most loving way, and I mean that, and again, I have not always been able to say that, but in like, oops, I caught you. I'm not going down that road. You watch your thoughts about whether it's relationships that you
Mm.
have, husband or children or girlfriends too,
Yeah.
food. You just start to become more aware of your thoughts and what you've done for the greater part of your life, how you approach those things. And you find out what does not serve you and your better self.
Mm.
And through that is where you lose the weight. But it really kind of turns into more just becoming a better friend to you as you get to know yourself, and it's honesty, and you have to be. I mean, there's definitely some very deep moments because you're going to do the work because it's going to surface, some thoughts that just are not serving your higher being. They're not, period.
Yeah.
So they're going to surface and you're going to have to deal with them and you are going to find a better plan for you. And through that, I was surprised at my relationships with my children, how much that transformed
Mm.
because I did do this as the pandemic hit and as I found my three children at home in my house 24/7. And that was really hard. So if you're a mom out there and you felt that, I mean, many of our relationships have suffered because of
Yeah.
that. And so I really used the things that you taught us, watch those thoughts. It was so powerful for me, especially in my relationship with my children
Yeah.
during the pandemic. And that was really a surprise to me because I came to lose weight.
This is so weird. Okay, well, I'm just weird. But it was 11:11, I don't know, like an hour ago. And it was 11:11 on my clock and I was like, "Oh, I'm going to make a wish." And I was like, "I'm just going to wish for a fun surprise today." Just so cheesy. But like what is better than just a fun surprise? I mean, you put in the work too. So you were creating those surprises for yourself, but
Many.
I'm going to expect a surprise today. So let me ask you this. You're like, my relationship with my kids is better, my relationship with myself. So, like, how does that feel when you have a better relationship with yourself? Like, what is your day to day like because you have a better relationship with yourself? How does it feel?
Well, it's so much easier. It's
Oh,
easy. I don't wake up not liking myself, which I think previous to this program, I would go to sleep at night and my last thought would be, um, oh, what did you do today that was horrible, like eating wise,
yeah,
food.
yeah.
And my first thought in the morning would be like, okay, so I'm going to be really successful today and it was like so exhausting and
Mm,
so not helpful.
yeah.
And so it's just an easier life. It's
Mm,
easy. It's also, and I said this earlier, it's really created a life of it's not perfect. It's work. Every single day is you're reminding yourself to stay on your protocol. You're reminding yourself to it's just easy. There's a flow about it.
mm.
I look forward. I always look forward to my days in my life because I've created a good life for myself. But this area, there's just an ease that falls in line with what I want for myself. And it
Yeah.
didn't exist before this. It was an embarrassing secret that I just couldn't believe that was still a part of my life when so many other things were so great. And so
I
now,
think so many women can resonate with that. It's like, I figured everything else out. Why can't I figure this
why
one
can't I figure
thing
this
out?
out? And it
And I
was
think you were right. Like the resources that are out there are just not the solution in the long term.
no, and it also made space for me to really, really, really be present with my kids, whatever they're doing, whether it's school or a sport or sitting next to me, because I can have food in front of me, whether it's a snack or a dinner, and I'm not fixated on the food. Like it's there. Okay. And I'm a salty person. So anything salty is like speaking to me really
Mhm.
loud. Now it's just like, oh, you're there. Great. You're there. I'm not staring at the plate or I'm not present with my child because I've got food in front of me that
Yeah. You're not like pre-calculating. What am I
right.
going to
Like,
do
what
about
am I
that?
supposed to now? That weighs 2 ounces and that's got 260 calories. So if I go and work out, that'll minus that plus a two, minus a three, carry the four. The whole thing is like,
That is exactly right. That's so good.
it's just like, what? And so it just it's just a better place. And you know what? Again, it's not about perfect. So I catch myself still a lot of times being like, oh, I know where that's going to lead. So let's just stop.
Yeah.
If I'm super, super happy or super, super sad in my life, those are two times where there's food involved in it.
Mhm.
Celebrating or mourning, both have food involved.
Mhm.
So now I just, if I know ahead of time I'm celebrating, I turn it into a joy eat, or, I've got a plan
Yeah.
and I watch myself because I'm an emotional eater. So
Yeah.
the minute something goes wrong, I'm gonna eat. I'm gonna pick, I'm
Yeah.
gonna snack. And now I'm aware of it. And it just
Yes.
brings an ease. Brings an
Yeah,
ease.
it's like a practice now versus like this big,
It's a practice. And
huge,
some
like
days are
dark cloud.
great and other days aren't. And when they're not great, I don't beat myself up or go exercise like 6,000 times more because of that, as opposed to the fact that I just like to move my body and
Yeah.
exercise.
Oh my God. That's been one of my greatest gifts, really. It's like, oh, I just work out because I love it and not because I'm punishing myself. It's so
Oh,
freeing.
absolutely. Absolutely. No, I mean, I used to work out so that I wouldn't feel bad because I ate food.
Mhm.
It's a terrible cycle. It's
Yeah.
a,
It's
it,
so much energy. It's so much wasted energy.
yeah. Now I move my body and I love physical and there's nothing wrong with being physical. I tell my students physical,
Yeah.
move your body. You need to. And I love that. I swim, I do yoga. I claim to run every now and then, but I just love physical movement. I
Yeah.
hike anything that I can, but I'm doing it not because I have to, because I ate something and I just want that to go away. I'm beating myself up. It's not that
Mm.
cycle anymore, which has made, like I said, everything a whole lot easier. And I sort of laugh it off now because I catch myself almost every 15 minutes doing like, oh, really? That's not going to happen. But, that's okay. That's just my journey and I have better tools now. And so
Yeah. So awesome. I mean, I cannot tell you every single mom that comes to me, every single woman that comes to me says, I just want to be able to be present. I just want to be able to be present. Like that's really when it comes down to. I want to be present with my kids, right? And instead of focus on the bag of chips that are there. So it's so cool to hear you say, like, now I just sit at the kitchen table for the snack or for the dinner or whatever, and I'm just present with my kids. Like that's what we all want, which is what you're describing is the in the flow feeling, the present feeling, the ease feeling, right? Like, and I think what's so cool is you were like, when I was in it, when I was really doing the work, and again, not that the work stops, right? It is a practice, right? You really, it's sort of like the Yummy Mom experience or the program that you went through. It's almost like boot camp in terms of like it's hard for a while, you're healing your relationship, it becomes healed, but then it's still a practice, it's still a relationship as it is with your love of your life, your partner, your husband, whatever you call your person, right? But I think about that always, like with my husband, it's like I'm committed to him. Like I am going to love him no matter what. And I can then apply that to food and my body. Like I'm committed to this relationship that I now have. Is it perfect all the time? No. It's a practice, but I continually consciously choose it no matter what. And I just love the way you're describing it. I love how you were like, yeah, it was a little bit hard. It was a
Yeah.
little challenging, I think what you said. But now you're reaping the reward of the ease of it, right? It was hard so that you could get the ease instead of it just being hard for the rest of your life.
No, absolutely. I think it's a lot like when people first take a yoga class. Yummy Mummy is a lot like you walk in and you're like, okay, this is all physical. Like, whoop, I'm going to physical and physical and physical. How does my body feel? And then the longer you're on your mat or in a yoga class, no matter what level, you start to like, wow, geez, I'm kind of paying attention to my breath. And oh, I'm kind of paying attention to, my mind. And it's not why you showed up. You showed up because, I mean, when I first showed up for yoga, it was like my hamstrings were tight.
Mhm.
So, it- and that's a lot like Yummy Mummy. You think it's all about, I'm going to go in and lose weight. And all of a sudden it blossoms into this whole multi-layer because of you and because how you ask us to start treating ourselves. It's from respect and from a very, very, very solid, good place within yourself that you find on your own. You are able to approach your weight loss in a way that is actually for the last time. That's what makes it. And so you can guide us, but like everything, you have to do the work.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have
I can't do it for you. I used to say,
to.
I wish I could do it for you, but I don't wish I could do it for you because then you wouldn't get all these benefits. Like, of
But
course,
you don't want to miss a moment. You don't want to, well, actually, you do want to miss a moment because some of it's stinking hard and some of it's like, oh gosh, it's hard when you kind of have to look at yourself. But I love the introduction that you had to bringing our future selves into play. So that was really helpful for me because I didn't feel totally alone. I felt like I had my future self who
Ooh,
had already lost the weight, waiting
ooh,
for me. And so
yeah.
that made me feel less alone, even though the work was really hard. I had my future self like talking to me like, Elizabeth, you know what? You've really got this. This
Yeah,
is
she has
one
your back.
small moment.
Mm.
And you're going to have many of those moments where life is hard because life is hard. Nobody gets a free pass on
Yeah,
that.
like it's supposed to be hard. Like maybe
Yes, it
we
is.
even want it to be a little hard because then because it's worth it. Then we get the results of
Right.
putting in
Right.
that work.
Right. So during those hard moments, which are going to come, I had my future self really guiding me. And so that was one tool that you had introduced to us that I just, to this day, I still like 10 more pounds to lose. So I'm still letting my future self remind me of things I already know. I just need to be reminded
Yeah, of
because
course.
we forget that. We forget that when we're in
When we're in
this,
it. Yeah.
when we're in it.
So people always want to know
Mhm.
about those last 10 pounds or about the last 5 pounds or last 20 pounds. Say they stop working with me after 3 or 6 months or whatever it is. They want to know, well, like, what happens like at the end? So I'm curious as to your confidence level. This is what I hear from my clients is that whether they lose all of their weight within their time with me or not, it's they leave with the confidence of knowing that this work is permanent,
Mhm.
right? And if they do gain the weight, it's a conscious decision. Most of my clients will keep losing or they'll maybe gain like 2 pounds, right? But it's very permanent. It is for the last time. So I'm curious about your thoughts about these last 10 pounds. Like, are you confident? Are you shaky? How is it different than losing pounds have been in the past?
Well, I remember when we were just and when we ended the last second cycle of Yummy Mummy, I was actually a little nervous. I was like, wow, what is this
Mm,
going to look like when I don't have Laura and these other women supporting me. Like I definitely felt, oh boy, this
Oh
could.
yeah.
So I did not walk away feeling, you got this, Elizabeth. This is great. I will tell you something. I got this. It's great. But I'm surprised because I definitely was like, oh, well, I'm nervous.
Yeah.
This my past has shown me
Yeah.
that this could be a problem. And I kind of didn't fully believe it, but it was present enough, that thought, that I was not 100% confident that I had this. And I'm 100% confident. Like I don't feel at all not supported. I feel
Yeah.
like I still hear your voice in my head.
That's what everyone says.
Um,
Okay.
it's so important. And I know what I need to do. I used to hate journaling. I don't know why. Like, why am I not a journaler? And now it's like, I know for me to start my day feeling supported, I need to do, whether it's journaling or something else. But for me, it's journaling, reminding myself where I'm going, reminding myself of my strengths, reminding myself I've got my future self talking to me. There's such groundwork
Mm.
that it does follow you, and it has been smooth, but I was nervous. I
Well,
was.
I think that is like totally normal. I don't think anybody ends on the last day and isn't nervous for a day or a week or 2 weeks because you have had the ultimate support. You've had daily support, right? And so I think that's totally normal and totally natural. What I think is so cool and imperative to share is that now you're like, "Oh, I totally got this." Yes, of course it's I remember when I like didn't have my outer accountability anymore and I had to be accountable to myself. I was like, "Holy shit, am I going to be able to do this? Let's go. Let's see." And of course, I did. And that skill of inner accountability is hard. People don't
But I'll tell you, I didn't realize how strong mine was
oh,
until I left the group.
yeah, so you have
Because
to leave the
yes,
group in
you
order
have to
to
leave the group
yeah,
because I felt like,
yeah,
oh, I can't, like I loved those women, and still to this day when I see them on Instagram or Facebook, I'm like, oh my gosh, I
yes,
miss them so much. But I was counting on them so much that I thought I wouldn't be able to. And I actually have done, because now I have to trust myself. And
mhm,
now I have to have my back, which that's all you do. Yummy Mummy teaches you to do that. I just didn't realize I had that skill
yeah,
mastered. And then when I
yeah,
left the Yummy Mummy group, it was mastered.
yeah,
And
you were totally ready. I
yes, I
love
was
how you're
ready.
saying
It was
that.
very solid, very solid. And I look forward to working more. Like I want to now it's like now I'm looking around thinking, what do I want to do about, like, I want to educate myself more in this
Yeah.
area so that I do more for myself. And as far as losing the last 10 pounds, I absolutely believe 100% that I will lose the last 10 pounds. I mean, will it be quick? Absolutely no. Will it be slow? I don't know. Like, I don't know.
But
I
I
don't.
love what you're okay, this is your energy right now. You are committed to losing those last 10 pounds. You believe that you're going to lose those last 10 pounds. What I'm noticing is you're not attached from this crazy, graspy diet mentality place, right? If you had to lose 10 pounds like 10 years ago, you would probably be consumed by it. At least I would be,
Yeah.
right? Where
Yeah.
the energy that you're bringing to our conversation right now is just like totally chilled out. It's like, yeah, it's dialed. It's going to happen.
It'll happen. And yeah, it's really, really, really a number on the scale, because how I feel about my place in my family and really, really in my profession, I just feel more solid. I feel better. I feel authentic. I feel like
Mm.
I want to let people see the good stuff. I want to let people know about the stuff that's not so great. It just feels like, the layers have been ripped away, and this is
Mm.
who I am, and I'm dealing still every day
Yeah.
with this stuff that doesn't serve me. And
Yeah.
some days it's the same stuff that surfaces, and some days it's spanking new, where you're like,
Yeah.
wow, okay, huh. what's that?
Yeah, let's look at that. But it doesn't have to mean anything like about
No,
you, right? Deep down.
nope.
I have two more questions for you.
Okay, go
How
ahead.
was vacation? Because you mentioned you got back from vacation. Tell me
I
about vacation.
Well, I was in Connecticut
Okay.
for a family reunion, 29 of us in at my sister's home on the shore. Absolutely amazing. I'm going to say it was one of the best vacations I've ever taken, and my husband would be really sad to hear me say that because that would include our honeymoon. But I'm so blown away at how much fun I had. I mean, we had Olympics. It was just the most.
Oh my God, that sounds so fun.
And of course, what am I concerned about? Alcohol. Like
Mm.
for me, I love my alcohol, or at least I thought I did. Like, oh, how am I going to have a good time without alcohol? And how am I going to fit the alcohol into my joy, eat, drink? My desire has lessened so much in that area. It's such a not non-conversation, non-thought in my brain. It's like,
Mm.
oh, could somebody please make me a drink? And then my sister would make me a drink and I'd put the drink down and walk away. And 3 hours later, oh, there's my drink. Like it was
Oh
not
my
a
God.
part of my life. And I remember starting Yummy Mummy and thinking, well, this is definitely an area I am going to fail in. I don't know how to not drink. Like, what do you mean drink? Like, so anyways, that was a non-issue. I had an amazing time. I was so present for both of my parents who are getting up there in age.
Yeah.
So I have not seen my family that is scattered all over. And it was
Oh
amazing.
my
And
God, you're giving me the chills. Just
telling you, had I not done Yummy Mummy, the before this trip would have been, I'm going to guess, like some massive crash diet, over exercise to get me there. So I
Mm.
don't look like, the way I don't want to look. And I just was like,
Yeah.
I went and bought my bikini. I didn't get to wear it because, of course, the East Coast weather wasn't great. Like that's East
Yeah.
Coast. But it was stress free. I was present. I was super proud of myself. And I loved every single, and I'm being genuine about this. I think it might have been my best vacation ever.
Yes, I'm so glad I asked you
I,
about this.
yeah, it was like, I just can't believe. Yeah.
Yeah. Where had you not gone through this work
Oh,
with yourself, it would have been a whole different leading up to the vacation. And my guess is it would have been a little different when you were actually on vacation too, had you not done this work on yourself.
yeah. I mean, I definitely was not on my protocol 110%. But
Yeah.
here was the difference. I still had fun. I didn't over eat and then over drink and then beat myself up and spend again so much time beating myself up that I was missing all of these great moments
Yeah.
with my family.
100%.
Um, it just the value of that for me on this particular trip, especially post pandemic when I haven't seen people,
Mhm. Yeah.
was huge, and the stress level was down. And if stuff went wrong,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's the whole thing. It just
Yeah.
helps you. Yeah. So it was amazing. Amazing.
So cool. I love hearing that. Okay, so if there is one thing that you could share with somebody who is out there struggling right now, what would it be? Or one piece of advice, like one thing you felt like you don't want to get off this podcast episode without saying? Is there anything? And you don't have to, and you might have covered everything. I mean, you were super thorough and we went deep,
Well,
but
I think if someone's listening to this podcast, they know or they've looked up you or the Yummy Mummy group.
yeah.
So they probably are sort of circling the idea of getting help and what this help would look like. And I did mention this earlier. Please, please, please. We need to sort of give each other a little push. Sign
Mm.
up, do it. I absolutely, first of all, I've never gone on anybody's podcast, nor has anyone asked me, by the way, but I am not someone that just speak. Like I fully, when I believe in something, I fully support it. And if you are on the fence, just take the leap of faith.
Yeah.
A leap of faith. I absolutely, I would do it again. And I wouldn't think twice about doing it. So that's what I would tell someone that is just like, it's post pandemic. Things aren't going well, or the kids are this, or my husband is this. There will be excuses for a million years. And
Yeah.
unless you say, no, it's my time, I will be a better mom for it. I will be a better wife for it. I will be a better person for myself for it without missing a beat. Hit the button and just do it. And I was in your place and I was in their place. So I know how many times you hesitate when it comes to taking care of
Yeah.
yourself, but please just do it for yourself.
Yeah. That's so good. It's such good advice because it goes back to what we're talking about before. We want to put ourselves at the bottom of the list, but that doesn't help anybody.
Yeah, and I don't think it's really, being totally honest, I think people really want to better themselves, but are just have either been in that space for so long, hello 40 years,
Yeah.
or they're just like, I don't know what that first step should be.
Yeah.
I didn't either, and I just was like, I don't know. I think this is what I should do right now and shake things up, and I have not regretted it for a moment.
Yeah. So cool. So Elizabeth, tell
Yeah.
us how we can find you. She is an amazing,
Yes.
amazing yoga
Yeah.
teacher.
So
That's actually how we got connected back whenever we got connected. But tell us
yes,
how.
Laura and I got connected through Yoga Works and through teaching in and around Los Angeles. I teach north of Los Angeles. So I have classes here face to face if California continues to allow us to be face to face. I also teach the whole library of classes on Vimeo, gentle level 1 and some harder flow classes on the Vimeo platform. So
Okay, we'll link it in the show notes so that people can just click to find
Elizabeth
uh,
Doan Yoga and
Elizabeth Doan Yoga. Okay,
yeah,
.com,
yeah,
elizabethdoanyoga.com.
and that Vimeo, and it'll hook you up to my schedule and all of that stuff. So I'd love to have you.
Oh my God, I love it. Okay, so you guys can find that in the show notes. I'm going to let you guys go. Have the best week ever. What did you guys think of the best of? It's so good, right? All right. So if this resonated with you, get on over to lauraconley.com, click work with me, and get yourself signed up for the Yummy Mummy experience. If you just have an inkling that this is the right thing for you, trust your gut. You've tried all of the other things that don't work. Try the new and different thing. Stop doing the same thing and expecting a different result. This is new and different because we work on your mindset. If you feel like you know all the things and you just can't get yourself to do them, the reason why is because you haven't changed your brain. You haven't worked on your mindset. And that's exactly what we do inside the Yummy Mummy. So I will see you starting January 17th. We're going to go for 6 months and we're going to lose weight for the last time. I will see you inside, babe. Love you. Have the best day ever. Ciao, ciao. Hey, if you've enjoyed listening to this podcast, I would love it if you leave a rate, review, and a subscribe on whatever you're listening to this podcast in. Pretty pleased with a cherry on top. It would help me so much, and it would help all the other mamas out there hear this message. Thank you in advance. I really appreciate it. And you have to come check out the Yummy Mummy experience. It's my proven lose weight for the last time group coaching and course. Head to lauraconley.com and just click work with me. Other than that, you guys, I would love to give you a free gift. If you want your free listener only gift, go to lauraconley.com/gift. And from there, you will get your free best ever weight loss hack. So cool. The last thing I want to tell you, you guys, is I do have a free Facebook group. It's called, you guessed it, the Yummy Mummy. Lose weight for the last time, end body drama, and get food freedom. You can just search that in Facebook, or again, you can head to the show notes and you'll find the link there. All right, you guys, have the best day ever.